Good morning. This is Rachel Hugenberg, and I am a librarian out at the Sci-Fair Library. We are here this morning for our Life at Noon program with some really awesome members of the Houston Brick Club, which is an organization that is dedicated to Lego. And they are going to talk about Lego for adults this morning. All right, if you all want to get started.
All right.
Tim,
Thank you.
Rosa,
Yep.
Rebecca.
Yep. Thank you very much, Rachel. And although this is aimed at adults and Lego, it is definitely family friendly. So, you don't need to hide the youngsters or anything like that. Again, thank you. My name is Tim Howell. I'm a member of Houston Brick Club. We also have Rebecca and Rosa here from the club. So I'm going to take a few minutes to kind of talk about just being an adult fan of Lego. And then Rebecca is going to talk about history of Lego a little bit. And Rosa is going to show a little bit of robotics. And then we'll finish up. We'll take breaks occasionally to check and see if there are questions. So if there are things that you want to ask, put them in the chat and we'll try to catch up to those when we have a chance. All right, I'm going to try sharing my screen here. See recently and whatever. All right, let me get back to sharing my screen here. There we go. All right, my Houston Brick Club picture logo visible to everybody. All right, so like I said, we're Houston Brick Club. We are adult fans of Lego based in the Houston area. And we are just a hobby group. We're open to anybody that loves Lego for any reason. We got people that build, people that collect, people that just like to sort parts. Really no requirements other than enjoying Lego bricks some way or another. Got a few little terms that kind of go along with being members of the club. We are an RLUG, which is a recognized Lego user group. And that means we have actually received recognition from the Lego company. And we've got a few guidelines of theirs that we have to follow along, and we get a few benefits from them. We spend our time and our own money building and displaying and showing off their product, and they give us a little something back once in a while. Term AFOL is used a lot by people that are Lego fans. It just means adult fans of Lego. And you'll hear people talk about AFOLs doing this or that, and that's all it means. Another common term is MOC, for my own creation. That's a short form of a custom model that's been built by an AFOL, or a kid or a teen or anybody, just something custom that you made up yourself. Could be anywhere from 3 pieces stuck together to something that fills a whole room. All right, so what do we do as members of the club? And most of this I'm going to talk about normal times, not the last year and a half. We've been doing a lot of Zoom calls and things like that, well, like everybody else. But normal times we do an in-person meeting about once a month. Sometimes we meet at one of the Lego stores. We are very lucky that there are 4 Lego stores in the area. If anybody doesn't know, that's in Woodlands Mall, Willowbrook Mall, Galleria, and down in Baybrook Mall. That's more than I think just about any other city area has. You can see on the one on the left, there's several of us there, and on that table, for that one, we all just had a kind of informal challenge to build some sort of vehicle. So we had a lot of people that built different vehicle MOCs and brought them, and we looked at them and talked about them. The other one is a meeting at a person's house. It's actually my house. My ping pong table, which often has Lego on it. And at that meeting, we were doing a draft where we all brought the same set and we broke it up into parts and then took turns choosing parts. It's kind of a fun way to get some more parts and socialize and have fun. We have a collaborative project going right now. We are building downtown Houston out of Lego parts, and you can kind of see an in-progress photo of it there. I hope some parts are familiar. So over on the right side is the George R. Brown Convention Center, Discovery Green, Toyota Center. You can see Minute Maid Park up towards the top. So that is in progress. We're hoping to have it done in the next couple of weeks for an event that I'll tell you about soon. Sometimes we do small collaborative projects. So this is a display that went in a display window at one of the LEGO stores. And so several members each built just one of these little scenes. There's probably 15, 16 or so there. So different people brought those and put them in to make a display. We do a lot of display events. We're often at Comic Palooza. This year, Comic Palooza is in about a week and a half, and we will be there with a lot of custom models on display. So if you're planning to be at Comic Palooza, make sure you come around and find us and say hi. We are also at Children's Museum once or twice a year. We often set up in the center there, and kids and families come by and look at all the fun stuff. And another one that I really enjoy is we do a lot with the Children's Hospital. We'll sometimes do displays like you see on the left, you set up on the bridge. We also do play sessions where we go into their recreation room and there's just loose Lego, and we'll just sit there and kind of, as kids come in and take a break from whatever they're doing in the hospital, they'll build and play. And there's just an example there in the middle of something that one kid did one day. That's just a lot of fun, especially those displays. We're told that from the staff that there's just kind of a buzz in the hospital that the Lego people are here, and they'll bring patients down from their rooms, and it's just really fun to see them light up. And like I said, we build and collect. You know, sometimes we build great big things, like the city town layout there. Sometimes we have members that build really small things. This one with the little, dinosaurs or Godzillas through the town, that's micro scale. That whole thing is maybe 10 inches long. I mean, it will fit in your hand easily. So no reason to have to go big or complex or anything to be a club member. You just build what you want. Here's a couple other. There's this sugar skull, which I think is really neat and has some great usage of parts. And then a model of the Alamo, that's part of it. Person who's doing that has spent quite a long time getting that put together. And we are working on running a LEGO convention and exhibition. This will be in just about a week and a half in Sugar Land. It's called Brick Rodeo. There's more information at brickrodeo.com. And I'm actually going to come back and tell you more about that a little bit later. And didn't mean to jump quite that fast, but anyway. So anyway, we are Houston Brick Club. That's our website. You can see more about us there. You can send in any questions or things on the contact us there if you want to later. And I will stop sharing here and check the chat, see if we have any questions. Anything come up? All right. Then we'll move on.
Move this out of the way, and there we go. So don't know what happened. I started my love of Lego when I found out that you could create your own Lego feature, right? And so as I learned more about Lego, I learned more about the history. Mr. Christensen created Lego in 1935. And he wanted a name that would encompass good things with kids, because at the time Lego was created for kids. And so him being from Denmark, he created Lego from two words meaning play well. So it's leg and then gut. So it's play well, but we all translate it now into play good. So Lego is, you know how you combine words, you take the first set of one word and then parts of another word and you can combine them. And so that's what he did. And so he started off as a carpenter with wood objects. And shortly after that decided that he wanted to bring in other aspects. And so he bought this Lego plastic injection molding machine, and started making bricks out of plastic. And so Lego was actually launched underneath the name of automatic binding bricks, because when you put two Legos together, they snap together and create a bind. And so after that, he decided that he wanted to carry on the Lego name. So he went back to Lego Morstin, which is Lego bricks. And so after that, if you notice on every single Lego brick, it doesn't matter how big, how small, there is Lego on every single piece of a Lego brick. So if you're looking to see if something is an actual Lego brick, if you look at one of the studs, or if it's a person, if you look at inside of that, there is the word Lego on each and every part of it, not just on one, but on every single piece of it. And so it's a structure now that kids can learn to play. They can learn to create different items with that, which is really cool. So they wanted to create more than just bricks. They wanted to create role play, and they wanted to introduce movement. So in 1962, the Lego wheel was created. It was just a round piece of the molding part. And you can see here the graphic that they have for that. It has the part that sticks out. One of the things that I love about Lego is they include all their original drawings. You can get them off their website. And they're really cool because they actually can teach math, they teach science, they teach everything. Yeah, thanks, Tim. And so this system of play was actually introduced by Lego's, one of their umbrellas called the system of play. And as we go through, you'll see that they have different umbrellas for different things, which is really cool because it helps keep things together. So they notice that kids, and they're kids that are younger, they're like up to 4 years old. They have smaller hands. Their tactile stuff is not as well created as ours as we get older. So Lego wanted bigger bricks for smaller hands. And one of the things that I love about this is that it's not just for kids with smaller hands. It's for anybody that has mobility issues. You can get some Duplo bricks and they can create their own things. They even have Lego minifigs with Duplo bricks so that kids who have that issue can actually have their own minifigs as well, which is really cool. So with that, Lego created new systems of play. They created a castle theme. They have a pirates theme. They did space, which is really cool. Now they even have Batman and Robin with Duplo bricks, which is one of my favorites. So kids of all ages can now enjoy, and people of all mobility levels can enjoy Lego, which is really nice. In 1984, they entered a partnership with MIT with their media lab. And one of the things that I didn't know about this until I started looking at it was they wanted to do intelligence and behavior with play. So they wanted to do more robotic stuff, which is really interesting. And so they've created this system of play that includes robots with the things that Rosa is going to talk to y'all about later with the Technic bricks. And if you look at the red brick right there in the picture, that's a Technic brick because you can add different aspects to it on all sides. Before we started, we were talking about last night's episode of Lego Masters. So the brick that they used was actually a Technic brick that they suspended from the ceiling. And so it really does. It teaches kids. They created the system of the 4 C's for connect, construct, contemplate, and then continue, right? So you connect 2 bricks and then you construct this object. You look at it and you see if there's anything else that you want to add to it, and then you can continue building. And so, you know, you can go from this one piece of thing that looks like this into something that looks like a car, right? So it's really cool. Once you get your imagination going, there's no limits on what you can create. And why are my slides not going? There we go. Oops. Let's go back. So a couple of the fun things about Lego, and these are not just for kids, adults play with these. I love the Ninjago series. I think that it's really fun. If you're into combat and role playing and things like that, then Ninjago is really, really cool. And then they wanted a doll series of Lego. I don't have them actually with me, but this is one of them. You can tell that they're different from the minfig that I showed you, right? They have longer, skinnier legs, right? They have different bodies, and so they're called the Friend series because they have all different types and they all hang out together, and so it's a prettier series versus the other ones that Lego has. And then Lego had its first movie. If you know the host of Lego Masters, that's Will Arnett, he was Batman, and he will always be forever known as Lego Batman, right? Because the voice is just so there with Batman's voice. And then in 2017, they moved to digital. They created this online community for kids 13 and younger. It's called Lego Life, and it caters to kids. It helps them create scenes. It talks about different things that they can create. It teaches them how to take pictures of their Lego. It shows them how to upload it. And all of this is done within the confines of this one app. And you have to get your parents' permission before you get on it, but it's an amazing app if you want your Lego stuff to be digital and you want to participate in this digital realm. That's really, really good. And so Lego recently has celebrated some anniversaries. In 2018, they celebrated their 60th anniversary, and then they celebrated their 40th anniversary of the Menfic series. And then at this time too, they've also created sustainable materials. And so they're starting to work now, if you've watched them at all, they're starting to create Lego bricks from plastic bottles because they really want to protect the environment. They're into sustainable environmental stuff, and they really care about kids and the environment and things being non-toxic, because kids do tend, and some of us too, whenever I'm building, I stick Lego in my mouth because I don't want to lose it. Once I put it down, I'm afraid I'm going to lose it with all the stuff I have on my table. So if it's a piece that it's hard to find, it goes to my mouth until I can figure out where I'm going to put it. And so they really want things that are going to be better for the environment, better for the kids, better for the adults, and for the user who is creating and building. Some of the spotlights is if you're in any type of public school, you've probably heard of FIRST. Lego has entered into a partnership with FIRST. They have the First Lego League, which is really cool. They partner. So FIRST is a nonprofit that helps kids create things with STEM. And so they're usually the ones that have like the robots who are battling they build different things in their schools, and they're battling around. So Lego also has the smaller things where they give these instructions to the teachers, and the teachers and the kids create these amazing scenes, kind of like what Tim showed y'all earlier with the 15 scenes of the different things. So it's really cool. They've also entered into a Space Act agreement with NASA, which invites the space shuttle astronauts and all of the other astronauts to build Lego while they're in space. One of the things that I love that came out of that is the Women in Space series. And so this is a series of women who were first in their generations to do things. And so one of the things that I love is that they have different women in space. So they even have the Mae Johnson. They have Sally Ride, and they actually look like them, which is really nice. And so they've entered into a licensing agreement so that any product that's licensed actually will come from the natural skin tone of the person that they're creating it from. So they're moving away also from just the yellow faces that they originally created. So that's all I have. I'm going to see if there's any questions, and I'm going to stop sharing. Maybe. If my laptop will let me. There we go.
Thank you, Rebecca.
You're welcome.
I don't see anything in the chat at the moment. Anybody have any questions right now? We will have some time toward the end also, if anyone has questions then. All right, let's move on to Rosa.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Ms. Rachel. Thank you for staying on. My name is Ms. Rosa, and I own a robotics school. My background is neuroscience. So I love what Ms. Rebecca said, is that Lego can be a structured system of play. And if you know how to play, to use play, you can really develop children. So my audience they don't realize they're all prodigies, because sometimes it takes a mentor to like bring your intelligence up to the surface. I believe all of us can be prodigies. And so my specialty is I like to show children how things work. And I promise you, lots of adults want to be my students too. So in my school, I get lots of grandpas, lots of dads. They spend a lot of time, playing in my school. We do things such as these. So see if Ms. Rachel, if you recognize what you think is happening, like see if you notice the difference.
Yeah. You've built different sorts of gears.
Yes, I built different sorts of gears. And like Ms. Rebecca said, Lego started inventing these around 1977 because they wanted a way to make advanced models, right? They wanted to make things that actually work rather than just static, okay? So we can you imagine, just like Ms. Rebecca said, I connected these pieces together, like you said, I use gears, but I connected them with a certain intelligence and they behave differently. So I constructed, so like she says, what do we contemplate? Like, what do we do with that? Can you imagine, we can take the same principles of the gears right here, just two gears, kind of like just two gears, and then we can contemplate how windmills are working. Once you understand how windmills work, what if we translate the power that's gathered by the blades and transfer it down? So there could be oil pumps, right? I mean, that's what real engineers do, right? We try to take nature's energy, transfer it somewhere else. So ideas such as that gets kids to be curious. Like, oh, what if I can recreate what's really happening in the world? That's one of the tenets, I believe, that Mr. Christensen always wanted was, let's play with something that's real. Let's play with farm equipment first, right? That was one of the first things he made. Let's make farm equipment, because in Denmark, most of the kids that could play with Lego were farmers' kids, right? So they play what daddy, mommy did. They kind of duplicated life. And so that's our aim. Like, how do you duplicate what kids are seeing? So let's take another example, like Ms. Rebecca said. Okay, so what if we, connect things? Let's build, connect. So, sorry. So my students learn to create, little modules first. What if we connected all of them? So that, what if they all work together? Oh, sorry, there we go. Yeah, what if they all connected together and they were all working like one unit versus single units? Like, how does energy pass from one to the other to another? So children, they have to build these from scratch, right? How would they put them together? To something more complex like this. One of my students' favorite robot is this. I call it the dog fight. So it's, in dog fight, one plane is being chased by another one. So how do they dodge? You know, oh, sorry, my battery is running out, but you see, how do we use the movement of these more complex elements that Lego has and translate it into something that children can understand, some science? You see how they wiggle jiggle because I'm using the gears movement to create a lever. Feel free to ask any questions or if you want to see something up close, but so, and I connect it too, so that I ask the children when we contemplate, can we make them sync up together? Or would you like for them to be enemies and like dodge each other, right? They're dodging each other, right? Different ways,
Rosa, one of the things I like about that one is you're taking a circular motion and turning it into a back and forth motion.
That's right. That's a good observation, Mr. Tan. See, a lot of kids, they see this go round and round, but how come this goes horizontally, right? It becomes a horizontal movement rather than a round and round movement. Yeah, so I think that's one thing I admire about engineering. I'm not an engineer, but I study it really carefully so I can make it accessible to little kids. One of the most interesting experience I had was a grandpa that came to the classroom. So he was watching all the kids building complex things or easy things. So here's another example of Mr. Tim's observation is I'm taking something that goes round and round and I'm making it, up and down or up and down. See, up and down. That's what he's talking about, So one of the grandpas came into the classroom saying, "What's happening in here?" And so I told him, "Oh, I've got some of my students working on the robots that Miss Rebecca was talking about, like the MIT version of robotics, using Lego." And I said, "They're trying to find magnets. I've hidden magnets, and their robot is looking for magnets, as if they were, on Mars." So here's another version of the round and round versus up and down, straight up and down. Here's another option. So, so he toured my school and then he said, "Oh, my son just built a microphone for Insight. That's on Mars." So he couldn't believe that here 10-year-olds that is understanding what his son does professionally at NASA. They can so by building, I believe you are checking your understanding of your world. So those are some simple principles. So what happens when you try to understand more complex things? For example, Tesla uses a lot of robot arms, in the mega factories. And Mr. Musk is a big proponent of Lego systems because he figures out that if you want to build any vehicle or EVs, if you can figure it out so modularly like Lego, like every piece fits with every piece, then you will pass the savings to the consumers, right? You can make so many cars in so much faster time with such predictability, just like Lego. Every piece, even the robotics piece will fit, with Miss Rebecca's car in the back. That's what's amazing about their system. So it takes Mr. Elon Musk's team, like maybe 150 of these robot arms to run in the mega factory. And they have to teach each one of them almost like 14 months just like remote control, figure out the rhythm, then start coding it, teach the computer. There's just so many processes to teach the robot. So that when I'm teaching my students like about the robot arm, first, I teach them how to like physically, how do we make it, right? They make all this themselves. Then they have to manipulate it because the movements in my arms, notice they're opposite. They're not, my arms are not doing the same. My arms are doing opposite things, okay? So you have to understand how robot arms work so that when you go code it, you know how to make it do the things you want. Like, let's go pick up something, drop it off over there, come back. You got to reorient yourself. It has to be so repetitive, right? That's taking your brain, doing a download on the robot. We go to more complex things like, what happens when you do add a motor? Here's our dinosaur, right? We have a dinosaur now that also works with these gears. The principles right here, you saw that earlier, right? It's syncing up. That's how you can sync up legs. So you can see I purposely made the legs, work a certain way. We connected the legs to the dinosaur's head. So as the leg is moving, you can like drag his head too, if you like. And then what's fun, like Ms. Rebecca said, that you can contemplate, do I want the dino head this way? What if we change the head this way? Huh? I mean, would that work over this way? I mean, is there another connection we can make? And that's the fun of the play for Lego, is that when you change one thing, that's what a lot of people don't realize. When you change one thing in the system, it changes the whole system. So here we got a different dino. Well, does it work? Sometimes it doesn't work, right? I constricted it. It doesn't work so well. So failure is a really interesting thing that I want my students to notice, right? Because there are times where the robot doesn't work. So what does it take to make it work? So it's good for children to have the safe space to make the mistakes. Because first of all, these are hardly destructible. Two, you will have a hard time finding a place in school where failure is highly encouraged. So you need to come to a lab. This needs to be a lab. Some of the more complex things is the walking in the robots. Let me see if I can show you a complex walking robot. So everybody knows Boston Dynamics. So here's a model of the Boston Dynamic. Right, those people make one robot that can walk, jump, dance. They could do all those things. But what if we make like models of what's happening? What if we use Lego to help kids understand how does it walk? Again, it's one leg, one leg forward, one leg back. How do you create that? You create that by making like one side points down and the opposite side points up. And I'm not sure if this is a good view, but it's opposite. Just like your hips, if you understand walking, one hip rolls forward and one hip is back. It's always like 180 degrees off, So like more complex things like these. What if we make a motor that pushes this, so he will, he'll just keep walking, right? It would just go on and on and on. And big dinosaurs like these, I've always wondered, like, how come Lego doesn't make these? Kids would love to see like dinosaurs that really walk, things like that. The sets that you can find in Lego right now, they're mostly cars, right? Licensed things, branding things. But I think that, what I'm looking for is to help children understand science. So I don't know if you can see like legs. Again, these are the 3 gears that I was showing you guys. And see how they're synchronized. You see they're moving together in this particular one, they're working together. And so then when we add the neck, let me show you this time. The neck is like, his mouth is really biting. I don't know if you can see like this. I don't know if you can see that. We add a movement to the mouth, like something like that. Yeah. Cool. So yes, because I can't now find what I'm, needing for the children, I decide to make my own sets. I buy pieces just like Mr. Tim and Miss Rebecca has in the back. I buy pieces from private owners and I put them together so that my students can practice. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one of the things that I love about Lego is that even though you buy a set in a box, you don't have to keep it with that same set, right? So, as Tim was talking earlier, they get together with the same box and they trade them off for different parts because, I might not, I might have a ton of these little lifesaver pieces and I may not need them. Maybe I need, some of these that fit like umbrellas or they hold stands. And so if the set has those, we can trade them off for each other. And so just because you buy a box doesn't mean you keep the same box.
Yeah.
I know that there's a question that came in that asked about putting the sets together. What do you do when you're done with them? I think it just depends on you and the set. Like the one behind me over here was the eco one for Ghostbusters, right? And so it's a set that I'm not going to play with, but it's there for display. It'll always be there for display. The space shuttle set that came out the beginning of May, middle of May, it's in my office. It's a huge space. I mean, it's like, I don't know, you can't see my hands because they're out the size of the window, but it's a huge set. And so those are sets that are created for display. And Lego's done something recently too. They've changed the ages of different boxes. And they've done that to show that the higher up the age of the boxes are, that those are more for display sets. They're not really much for play. They're more for display. And so if you're looking at a creator box or a creator expert box, and you think that maybe your kid might be too young, if you get the box and show them how to use the parts, then they can learn how to use the bigger sets as well. And so, that's something too that people don't really realize is that Lego is intertwined. And so you can use them for anything. If you have an imagination, whether you're 5 or 15 or 50 or 80 or whatever, you can do Lego. It doesn't really matter what your age is. And the only thing that is you're limited to is your imagination.
So I wanted to kind of follow up on some of what Rosa was saying. I've got a model here, a snowman that I made a while ago, but fun thing here is if you see, you turn the handle, his arms and heads turn.
Yeah.
So what that does, it can't really see it, but probably can't see, but buried inside there's some gears and axles, just the same sort of pieces that Rosa was using. But instead of leaving them exposed the way she had, it's got a model built around it and then lets you do something else with it. So that's combining the technique that Rosa was talking about with the kind of the basic system with the studs and making something fun out of it.
That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe you haven't seen that one yet, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there were some further questions about what you do with the Legos used in your project when you are finished with the project.
So I don't glue anything. I don't paint anything. I lean towards the Lego purist side. I will, on rare occasions, maybe cut apart like a pipe or something like that to fit. But for the most part, I try to use the Lego parts as they are. And yeah, I occasionally drop something and have to put it back together. But most things I build, I'm never quite sure if it's done or not. And, I might come back to it a month, a year, a couple years later and adjust it. So, I leave it free to be taken apart, reused. And if I just don't like it, take it apart, put it back in all of that and try something new. But it varies. Some people are willing to paint them. Some people are willing to glue or cut. And that is entirely up to you. I mean, your parts, you can do what you want, whatever works for your project and your imagination. Yeah, Rosa, go ahead.
For the robotic students, Mr. Ken, in the past, I've made my students break their robots to work on something else. That's the intent of Lego in the first place. But because of COVID, we were not able to gather together. So what I noticed was I've been sending pieces like these, to my students where they get to keep like some of these fundamental things. Like these are some fundamental movements that all roboticists need to know how to make. So I've learned to let them keep like these Lego. And so when we have project, let's say we want to work on the one that's doing the dog fighting. And then we're able to say, oh, we have the same principle in one of these little models. So there are some models that I encourage my students to just always keep, because one, they will always have science fairs, here you got work done. Second, because we're a school, all of our models are always on display. We have so many visitors, just like the Houston Brick Club. We always have things that we want to highlight as our flagship. So as a school, we always keep almost, one of every model. So yeah, so it depends on what your purpose is, Mr. Ken.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's a great idea to have some little builds around, just, as similar to having a reference book on the shelf.
Yeah.
You don't have to memorize everything up
Yeah.
here. If you figured it out once and you like that, and put it up there. And I don't do as much of that as I should, but I've got a little door that I like. I've used variations of this in several buildings, and
That's pretty.
it just kind of sits up there. I use it in different colors and different configurations. So yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, so we need to build like a library. So yeah.
Yeah. We have gotten another question, which is how do you organize your Lego parts collection and keep them organized?
Oh, that is a big question. Rebecca or Rosa, you want to talk about how you store your stuff for a minute?
Yeah. So I store mine with the size all together. So if I'm looking for a 2x3 part, I want to make sure that I can find the 2x3. I don't want to store all the same colors together, because if I'm looking for a 2x3, if I'm looking in a sea of green, it's going to take me forever. But if I have all of my 2x3s in a container, then I can just go through and pull them as I need them. If it's accessories, I keep all the same size accessories together. So like these little tree branches, I'll keep all of these sizes together, but I'll have all the different colors of the size together so that they're easy to find. I know a lot of people keep all their reds with their reds and all their blues with their blues, and I can't do that. I will get frustrated and then I'll just stop. And so I'm in for speed. I'm in for finding what I need when I need it, because sometimes the idea is a fleeting idea. And if I can't find what I need, then I lose it.
Yep. Thanks, Rebecca. I'm pretty much the same way, sorting by shape more than color.
Yeah.
All right. So let me try again here on the screen share. Okay, there it is. Okay, play from current slide. All right, everybody see that? See the Brick Rodeo? So this is a convention exhibition, will be July 22nd to 25th in Sugar Land. What is Brick Rodeo? Its first couple of days are a fan convention. So people like us, Houston Brick Club members, will come, we'll set up our mocks. We play a lot of Lego related games. We do workshops, presentations, those might have to do with lighting your mocks, photography, building techniques, all kinds of things like that. And a lot of it is just socializing. Lego fans tend to be a little bit, our hobby started because we want to sit in our rooms with all our stuff. And so, things like this are a great way to meet other people and get out and just talk to similar people. And the Saturday and Sunday of that weekend, it's open to the public. So people can come in and see all these mocks and talk to the fans like us that made them. We'll have some meet and greet sessions with some special attendees. We're also going to have a huge mosaic. They'll be laid out on the floor. The public can pick up a base plate and an instruction sheet and help build that. And that's a charity event. So what can you see there? Like I mentioned earlier, the downtown Houston model will be there. We'll have a lot of artwork like this mosaic by one of our club members. He does a lot of mosaics of a whole bunch of different things. They're just beautiful. We'll have a train in town layout from Texas Brick Railroad. It'll look something like this, but not exactly like that version. We got all the other themes you can think of: castle, city, space, Star Wars, Technic. You know, pretty much anything you can think of out of Lego will be there. And not everything is big and complex. A lot of people bring small things like this sushi truck or these owls. And sometimes those are as much fun to look at as the huge things, because it can, trying to fit all that detail into a small space, you really got to work pretty hard, and it takes a lot of imagination to make that work. We're going to have some special attendees. If you've been watching Lego Masters, Moto and Mark and Steven and Dawn and Zach and Wayne and Jen are all going to be at Brick Rodeo, and they're going to have some times to meet the public. They're all going to bring some mocks that they've made, so you can see them in person and see things that they've built. Like I said, we'll have a couple charity activities. We do an auction and toy drive that benefits Texas Children's Hospital. I mentioned earlier how Houston Brick Club does a lot there at the hospital. Fairy Bricks is another organization that provides sets. They have, over the last year, twice given Texas Children's a lot of Lego sets that get distributed to the kids. So we have a mosaic, and then we have a game where it's make a donation and get a prize, and that benefits Fairy Bricks. So we're really happy and Brick Rodeo is a nonprofit event. You know, we're not in it to make money. We're in it to have fun and to help out these other charities. And so tickets are on sale now, brickrodeo.com. You can follow Brick Rodeo on Facebook, Instagram. You know, all of us, our favorite words are free Lego, but second favorite words might be free parking. And there's absolutely free parking there. It's in that Sugarland Town Square, if you're familiar with that. It's the hotel there. There's restaurants all over, easy to come in and park in one place, see the event, go to lunch or dinner, have a lot of fun all in one area. That is it.
And I want to highlight one of the things that Tim mentioned on one of his slides. He had all of the acronyms on there. The AFOL. If you will follow that on Instagram, you can learn all about adult fans of Lego, including the people who he's talking about. A lot of people talk about how they create their mocks and where they get their ideas from, and they show like behind the scenes of them making them and breaking them. And so, you know, it's a lot of fun. The Brick Rodeo is from the Houston Brick Club. We have a Facebook page, we have a Facebook group, and yeah, so it's a lot of fun. It's you know, we have parties every couple of weekends with sorting parties and socializing. So yeah, you should join us. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. Like I said, I mean, there's no dues, no initiation. I mean, we like to joke that every new person has to walk 12 feet across Lego in their bare feet, but you know, we don't really make you do that.
Run, we're saying run.
No, it is all just fun, and
You know,
no need to be a fancy builder or build huge or complex things. Just you know, come and enjoy Lego. So
I was waiting for the moment where someone would step on one. Or mention stepping on one.
Oh yeah, you can't go too long without bringing it up. And yeah, I mean, in my room here, I'm always kind of looking around.
Yeah.
I had one of these drawers fall out a while ago from there.
Goodness.
And it was full of tiny parts, and they were all over the place. So yeah, that's some of the fun of it too.
We do it ourselves.
So any other questions? We got a few more minutes, I think. We can answer questions. I could show off a few more things from my shelves. Actually, so I've got an ambulance built here. And so this one, I got a little kit from, so the ambulance itself is my own design. I just worked that out myself. And I got a little kit which has LED lights. So I guess one of them's not flashing there a little bit, but so you can add that.
That's awesome.
Get the flashing lights as part of it. All it is just a little battery pack, and then it goes wired into an assortment of LED lights.
So, do any of you guys collect older or rarer Lego kits? Just out of curiosity, that might have,
So I have pretty much all the Lego I had as a kid from 70s and 80s. At this point, it is all mixed in with everything else. So I couldn't really pull one of those out by itself. I've got the instructions that are all on a pile over here. Um, one of our club members is really into the space theme from the 80s, which for Lego fans is now called classic space, all the blue and the gray spaceships and everything else. He'll put a display together that's probably 6 or 7 feet by 10 or 12 feet, full of the classic space. And he'll be at Brick Rodeo, so you can see it there. But he just loves all of that. And it's always
nice.
grabbing up blue and gray parts and looking for those old things.
All right. We had a question about organization, a comment about wanting to join Miss Rose's class. Where do you guys get some of your ideas?
Go ahead, Rebecca.
I was just going to say that one of the things that I learned whenever I started, I didn't have Lego as a kid. I did with Lincoln Logs. And so back in the 60s and 70s when I was a kid, I didn't know about Lego. So I've started later on in life, and people tell me, if you want to learn how to do something, buy a pre-made kit, build it like it's supposed to be, and then add your own customizations in it, and then tear it apart and rebuild it from scratch. And so, a lot of times ideas come from things that you've seen or things that you've seen that you wish you could do. And so that's kind of how I build my own stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, and I used to be an architect, and probably 60% of what I build at least is buildings and things to go with town scenes. I mentioned the Texas Brick Railroad. I display with them a lot also. I don't bring many trains. I bring the stuff that goes behind the trains and fits in the scenes. I don't build very many replicas of existing buildings, but I will build things. I'll have just something will come to mind. I'll just have a vague idea, loosely based on maybe something that I've seen, and build something that just sort of fits that. That's where a lot of mine comes from, thinking about buildings that I've seen.
Yeah, for robotics, we build a lot of things that, like how does an umbrella work, right? Like a lot of people just use it. But when I look at them, because there's a mechanism, so it makes me think about, like, how do you show kids how umbrella works? Because I think these are like, some of your favorite classes could be your college professors, right? You just like get lost in time. But I'm like, why wait till college to like enjoy learning like that? Learning could like be that fun at a really young age, and it can set them off in like a love and a self-propelling energy, So when I look at doors, or like, why does this work, or how does, like this week my students were testing, like everybody loves to play with tops, like these tops, right? So what if I gave them different sizes of rods, different sizes of tires, because in this playing they're learning how mass can store energy. And how many classes today do you get to learn by playing with tops, right? You don't, that's
Yeah.
not allowed, right? But to us, we are gonna put it in a robot. So, we want, places where we can tinker and break things up, but I teach them to put it back, right? There's a lot of things where kids break things and they're everywhere in your house. And you don't know what to do with kids like that. That's where they need not just regular Lego, they need these Technic Lego where we actually fix things.
Thank you all for coming out and for talking to us, Tim, Rebecca, Rose. It's been a really fun time. And we've enjoyed having you here on Life and seeing what you guys bring to life with your Legos. And check out Brick Rodeo. It is upcoming and it sounds like a lot of fun and does go to nonprofit. So obviously it's a really great cause. As well as week, we will be having in Plant It Forward, which is a local community organization. We're going to be learning from them how new Americans grow sustainable food in the farming business and revitalizing Houston's foodways. So do come join us next week for some discussion of local food and Plant It Forward, which is a local organization. See you guys next week. Life at Noon. Thank you so much to the Houston Brick Club.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
For having us.